Welcome to edition number 3 of We've Got Nothing. My name is Francis Leach. Hello, Craig Harper.
Is it We've Got Nothing or we got nothing?
We got nothing.
We got nothing.
We
don't even have
We
a
haven't even
fucking
got
title.
grammar. That's a title, Bianca. Chatfield. Is it not a title?
No.
Shatters.
Yeah, it's a great title.
It
I
is
like
a great title.
But being original.
Can I just ask Melissa before we get too far in? Are you happy with the shadow on Bianca's face?
I haven't done
She's
my hair
looking-
today,
she's
so you
looking
have to
up now.
keep the hat on.
Well, we need to see your eyes. Oh, no, because, yeah, that's cool.
I'll look up.
It is a very good colour on you, that. I think the
Oh.
dark hair and the turquoise just beautiful.
Thank you.
Did you chocolate it up at Easter, either
Yep.
of you?
Definitely.
I did, but I was rather disciplined, Craig. You'd be proud.
Are you methodical, or are you just like a dog with 3 dicks? You just unleash.
The urge is to do that, but I didn't. The urge is just to go, well, everyone else is doing it. Why
Yeah.
can't I?
Fuck it, live on the edge.
Absolutely. Just eat
Yeah.
that Haig's chocolate. I have a serious problem in the sense that Haig's could probably I could just set up a direct debit.
Haig's.
Haig's chocolate.
It's not that popular in Melbourne, is it?
No, I don't.
Compared to Adelaide.
No, in Adelaide they're very proud. In fact,
Are you South Australian?
no, but I just love it. And our family did do the Haig's Chocolate Factory tour a couple of years ago.
Oh, there you go.
I
Do you even
know.
know what we're talking about, Craig?
No, he
I've
doesn't.
heard of it. I grew up in Hobart, 8 feet from the Cadbury's factory.
Yeah, I'm Cadbury's through and through.
Are you bogans?
I was a
Come
fat
on,
little
raise your
fucker.
game.
I would inhale everything. There was I had no control button. Like
What was your favourite though? Come on, from the Cadbury range. Were you a caramello
Well,
kid?
surprisingly, I'm going to surprise you. Rum and raisin.
Ooh, that's a bit adult.
I know.
In between lighting your mum's cigarettes in the car, getting drunk on rum and raisin as well while you're driving around.
Is that why you had to
Eating a
stop the
block of that
alcohol
stuff.
as well?
Yeah, I stopped drinking when I was 10, and I stopped lighting my mum's cigarettes at about the same time. The lung disease the emphysema was fucking up sport at school.
Just this image of you, just lighting durries and eating rum and raisin.
That's right, just this fat little fuck chain smoking going. Kind of like Yoda in year 10. Just, or I should say year 4.
Oh,
10 years. No, I didn't.
What did you do over Easter, Craigo?
No, I went and saw my folks.
I did that too.
Went and spent a little bit of time with
Same.
the old
Oh, look at
dears.
us,
and
aren't we?
Family time?
don't you reckon it's interesting as you get older? I don't know about how old are your parents?
Dad
Ish.
is about 75. Mum's a bit younger. Yeah. But Dad
Same,
is about
same.
95 biologically. He's
Right,
had more bypasses than the Tullamarine Freeway.
right. That's pretty funny. Well, my folks are 76, and they're in pretty good nick, and they're in such good nick that I go, oh, some going to break. No, I don't really think.
I
like
remember
that,
when I used to see Ron and Mary come into the gym at Harper's, didn't
Yeah.
I
they?
remember I'm back
They'd
on
be
Mary a
lifting
few times
weights
as well.
and
Yeah.
You've kept them fit. You've kept them young.
Well, I tell you what, my mum. I have this constant issue with my mum that she smoked. So she's 76 now. She probably smoked and like a fucking champion, like a smouldering town. Right after she smoked from when she was 15, I would say, or 16, 17, till she was maybe 65.
Wow.
I just got to say, like, bodies are resilient. So there's 50 years of cigarettes. So she's not smoked now for 11 years. And touch wood, she's surprisingly, I mean, she's 76. She's got good posture. She's cognitively sharp as a tack. She trains at the gym 4 or 5 days a week. She's got a little social circle of girls that go to the gym and they all train, and she lifts weights. And my old man does the same. He's got his little group of, it's a large Italian community down there. So all these Italian mates, they all go walking. He's a pseudo-Italian. He knows about 8 words.
He's been adopted though.
Yeah, he's been brought into the brotherhood, and they just, so it's awesome. But as you get older, you have, I constantly think about, not constantly, but way more regularly think about how they're tracking. Like, and when the phone rings at 9 p.m. and it's mum, I'm like, oh, this is going to be
What's
bad.
happened?
Why is she ringing me? Because they have patterns, and like older people have really kind of predictable kind of patterns and behaviours. But no, they're good. They're good.
How did she give up smoking? Like, was it just cold turkey? That's had enough?
I actually wrote about it in one of my books in that I hounded her. And it's really interesting with the process of, when you want someone, let me backtrack. People always say to me in my workshops or in coaching, how do I get my husband to do this all the time? I go, you don't. Because the very thing that you want, which is a change in behaviour, quite often they will resist when you badger them,
Yeah.
right? And the only person that you can really control or change or influence is yourself. Or you can influence other people, but you can't change them. And so it's a real process. And I badgered my mum for 20 years. And basically all I did was create disconnection and resentment. And then one day I went up there and my dad goes, your mum's got something to tell you. And she goes, I haven't had a cigarette for 4 months. Nothing to do with me. And
So she has to identify, in a sense, her own self-interest in that in order to be motivated to change. That's the same for all of us, isn't it?
I think so. And I think that there's almost this cost-benefit analysis. People go, well, I really, really love smoking. I really love it. Makes me feel great.
I've never understood that bit of it, but anyway.
No, me
but
neither.
No,
right.
me either. But
Listen to us, we're so sanctimonious.
No, but I mean, you can't go, you're not going to go, oh, I feel terrible, and when I smoke it there must be, well, obviously there is a neural and a chemical high, which chemical high at least.
Why everyone has coffee every day, you two with your coffees.
That's like a pack of cigarettes right there, that is. That's a short black.
That's one of the tough things, I reckon, is changing hardwired habits and behaviours that are not good for you. I mean, we've got good ones that are hardwired, cleaning your teeth and being polite and not killing people and driving within the confines of the road rules. But those other things where they've just been hardwired, it's hard to have conversations with people. I had dinner the other night with a friend of mine. Oh, how do I not get in trouble?
A friend?
A friend and her husband.
Okay.
Anyway, and he has a unique way of looking at the world. He's a good guy, but he sees things how he sees them. And everybody kind of sees the world through their own window of reference. But to get other people to be able to go, how do other people see this? Like, what's their version of reality? What's their version of this conversation? He's extremely set in his ways, and he has quite a few challenges because he can't be taught anything.
How do you handle that conversation? Do you just sit back and not say much because you don't want to?
I'm pretty
stir
quiet.
The pot?
No, I don't. I never try to teach somebody that obviously doesn't want to be taught.
Yeah, that's
ever.
what I find too.
There's
I'd
no
rather
point.
just sit there and go, yeah, whatever. You say what you think. I don't mind.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Sometimes if you do that in that situation, there's a sort of passive aggressiveness about that sort of behaviour where people are determined that their only worldview is their own.
Yeah.
And then they're not listening to anything else. Sometimes they need to be told that their behaviour is
But I
obnoxious.
have friends who want to tell them, and so then they spend the whole time there just arguing over one stupid point, and I'm like, who really cares about this? In the whole scheme of things, who really cares who's right or wrong? And they just won't let it go. I find it so annoying.
My kind of litmus test is, will this be a good investment of my time or emotional energy? And I know the answer is no.
Yeah.
And I go, does this person want to learn anything from me? No. Do they think they're wrong, or they can, and the answer...
Does someone like that ever consider that they may be wrong? Do they ever have any self-doubt whatsoever?
They must deep down.
One of the challenges, we're getting into interesting territory. Let's not talk about a group, but let's just talk about religion broadly. So, and I love Catholics. I was raised a Catholic. But when you grow up in a Catholic, the environment I grew up in, it's like, right, well, we're going to heaven. No one else is. Sucked in. I was just fucking born into the lucky team, go me. And this is not a suggestion or a random thought. This is an ingrained, hardwired, cellular belief. Not even a belief. This is reality. You go, oh, okay. And so the notion that mindset that I grew up in could be complete shit never even entered my head. And so when you, whether or not you're whatever religion or whatever political, whatever
ideology or set of values.
Correct. You grow up in, they become you because you become a product of your environment. But the problem is, and we see this in less intense ways, but with things like, say, nutrition, where there's a dietitian who's been teaching you need 50% carbs since 1924, And now we've got all this research that goes, nah, probably don't. But they've been teaching that for 100 years. And now they've got to go, oh, I was wrong. They're not going to do it.
No,
a lot of
they're
them are
not.
not going to do it because they've got to go, well, actually, I might have fucked up a bit, but now I know better.
Yeah.
So I'm going to teach better. And that's the thing is that you, like, if you really like in that space of growing and learning and evolving, you have to be teachable and you have to be humble and you have to be able to go, yeah, I was wrong. Not here's 25 excuses.
No.
And with me, started teaching in 1982. Fucking so many things I
Yeah.
got wrong.
But as an elite athlete, you have to be prepared to hear that you were wrong or that you didn't meet the mark or the standard, because you're going to hear it from a good coach who's going to tell you that. And it's about being able to accept that you can improve. Isn't it?
And I think it's about separating it too. Like, it took me a little while to learn it, but knowing that any feedback or any criticism was about me as a player and that people wanted me to be a better player. It wasn't about whether they liked me as a person or not. It was more about how that they saw my playing ability, and every bit of feedback was about how to make me the best netballer I could be. But I think in terms of being a leader, it's really important to show your vulnerabilities too, that you can be wrong and that you can make mistakes, because people respect you a hell of a lot more if you're prepared to put your hand up and say, you know what, I was wrong then. And I always feel that you just get so much more, I guess, intake from all the girls when you're the one that stands up and says, I did that wrong, help me find a solution and we'll work through this together.
Do you, either of you, objectively, without being an overthinker, but assess, kind of, I know you were talking about what you want to do better with last time we spoke about your show, but do you have any kind of system where you kind of hit the pause button and look at how stuff's going, do a kind of a cerebral stock take or assessment and go, right, I need to change this, do that? Like, or is it just
every
organic?
day. Yeah,
right.
every
Yeah, I
day.
think
Like,
it's every day.
I mean, even after today's program, there are a couple of things I go, well, I should have done that story, or I could have asked this question, or I missed a point here. And
Right.
I'm never satisfied that I can just, tick the box and go through the show without feeling like it could be improved. It's just not the way I do it. If I can't phone it in. So yeah, I do it all the time. I just before we came on, I sent a message to my producer just saying, we argued about a story that we should have done today, and I, in a way, acquiesced and said, okay, we won't do it. But it's rolled on. A few other things have gone. I'm going, shit, we should have fucking done that story, and I should have asserted myself and argued my case. But it was 5 o'clock in the morning. I was like, okay, I didn't actually get to the batter's box and take a swing. I should have done that. So yeah, do it all the time.
What was the story?
It's about, there's a little one about, it seems little, but I think it's a really interesting one. It's the story from the Shield final, which is currently going on, cricket final,
yes.
about Mick Lewis, the bowling coach, kicking the ball into the gutter
I saw
and dragging it in the gutter and tampering with the ball, basically, in the full view of the cameras. And how does he not know that the world is watching? And B, it just looks so rank that he did it. It was so, he's accepted the fine, he's accepted guilt.
So what was the fine again?
The fine was half match payment, so it's $2,500. The Vicks lost 5 runs from their run chase, so he'll be sweating bullets. I think if Victoria are in a tight run chase and they're needing a few runs with 1 or 2 wickets to go. But it's more the ethics around, why would you do that? And also the sort of, the cricket is a funny game like that. It has a different etiquettes, and and I think there's double standards as well, because it's okay to change the cricket bats have changed so much. They're so much more powerful now than the ones that I grew up with, in a way that if you sort of kind of middle the ball, it flies. So it's okay to change that batting technology, but if you even touch a fingernail on the cricket ball as a bowler, you've got the mark of Cain.
Yep.
But he did it, and I just thought, I'm really fascinated to know, well, how did you think you were going to get away with that? He
It
just
was
drags the ball.
embarrassing.
This is the most important first-class cricket game outside of a test match that we see all year, and it was just like, what are you doing, mate?
I'd love
What
to
are
know
you doing?
how the players were with him at the end of play yesterday, like whether they had a crack at him, what they did, because you would be so embarrassed.
It
if
was
he part of your
embarrassing.
team.
It was deeply
It
embarrassing.
surely couldn't have. That must have just been a stupid, in the moment,
Instinctive thing.
spontaneous.
Yeah.
Is
so-
there any way that he
No one
couldn't
plans
have
that.
done anything to it? Like, it would have all just been a bit of an accident and a fumble?
No, it looked. I think he's admitted the guilt now. So he's
he
admitted
has,
the
okay.
guilt.
So it was
He
intentional.
kicked the ball into the gutter and he just dragged it was just in front of the full view. I don't know. It's funny, and I love the etiquette of sport like that. So all the old former Test cricketers are outraged. It's just it's a disgusting thing to do, to tamper with the ball. And it might seem innocuous to to other people who were casual viewers, but it was this, this startling moment in a really big big match.
So for you folk who have not watched the podcast or heard it before, Francis hosts the morning show on SEN in Melbourne with the Ox.
The Ox,
and
a great man.
Timmy between 7 and 8, Tim Watson. How do you go with hard interviews? You know, when you have somebody on and I'm conflicted when there's an interview where you go, I know that you've got to ask this person some hard questions and they might not like it. But at the same time, you're such a congenial, easygoing, likable person.
It's not my job to be liked in that situation. And
Yeah.
I've done a lot of that over the years.
And are you okay? How do
Absolutely.
you self-manage in that? Because I will say, to my own detriment, I think, and I've done that much compared to but when I've interviewed lots of people over the years, and there's maybe been a few hard questions, I'll probably avoid them because I just go,
It's just easier.
I just go, it's not my main gig. I'm not doing it. I don't want to get that uncomfortable.
No, that's the job. And particularly, I've done a lot of different broadcasting. Sports broadcasting is a little different, but, I've done a lot of political and current affairs stuff. And, that's the gig. And all it is about is having a critical mind, being respectful and asking the questions the audience wants answers to and staying on message. And interviewing politicians, that's the easiest one because that they have a public responsibility, or they should have a public responsibility to be accountable. So, I've had I've locked horns with some people like that, and it's just the gig. I don't mind at all. I'm not afraid of that sort of confrontation.
What about talking? So Tim Watson, who joins you in the morning sometimes, like talking to Tim about Job and what's going on with the Essendon drug scandal. Have you found that difficult, talking to him on air about it?
Oh, not difficult. I feel for him because I think it's an invidious position that he's in because he's both a former footballer and fine broadcaster and the father of one of the players heavily involved. But you can't avoid the questions that need to be asked.
No.
And, if anything directly related to his son comes up, then I'll ask it. But, but also respectful of the fact that it's a really unique circumstance for him. And it's not one that he chose. In essence, it's not his problem in that regard. It's not like a politician or someone who chooses public life and chooses to be accountable for their behaviour. This is not Tim's behaviour that's in question.
No.
So you do have to be more sensitive around that. For the players and for the key stakeholders in that story, not a problem asking hard questions about it.
Yeah.
He does really well.
He does.
I'd be like, don't even open your gob. 4 years, I'm sick of it.
I'm sure he is. But
He's such a professional though.
Yeah.
But you can even I think when at first they got banned for 12 months, when that all happened and he came on radio and spoke about it, like you could just feel how hurt he was by it all, and it was actually captivating to listen to the interview.
Oh, it's utterly compelling, but it must be utterly exhausting.
Those first couple of weeks were weird because everyone's going peptides. Because nobody had even heard the word really, and then now we're all sick of the word. But even me, who I don't even have a medical anything. I got heaps of not on SEN, on other things where people are going. They must have been ringing everybody that they knew that had something to do with sports science or whatever. But it's just been, and the sad thing is that it's because it's not finished. It's not. It's going to be continued to be spoken about.
And now the media jump on everything to do with drugs, like all this stuff with Collingwood now.
Well, there's a huge distortion of that story in a way that I find quite depressing. So
the Collingwood one?
Yeah. In essence, the people don't make the distinction between the WADA code, which
so
is...
for people who don't know what we're talking about...
So the AFL Players Association about 10 years ago agreed to ask their members, the players in the AFL, to be tested for out-of-season illicit drug use so that they could get a profile of their playing group and then maybe provide... In a sort of a situation where it's a harm minimisation and health and education response to young men taking risks with illicit substances. So it was not a punitive program designed to catch players for cheating because it wasn't related to their on-field performance or their training. It was about what they were doing in their downtime so that we get an understanding of who they are, what they're doing, and how the AFL Players Association as an overarching group might actually improve the quality of their lives whilst they're playing and afterwards as well.
So well explained.
But it was, I know, and it was all done confidential. So
the players volunteered to agree to this, but it's become enmeshed and distorted with the WADA code, which is, as you know, designed to stop players in this situation from using performance-enhancing drugs that might assist their performance in training and on match day, and therefore basically cheat. And there's no delineation in the public discourse around this at all. And I feel that the players will probably have every right to walk away from their voluntary code because they're being subjected to, I feel, a sort of moral fatwa about who they are and how they behave in a way that none of us in our general jobs would accept, as legitimate, that our employer might want to choose to knock on our door on a Saturday night and ask us what we've been doing. People say it's illegal, but yeah, that's what the cops are for. The AFL can't be the social worker and the police in this, but because it's professional sport, there's a sort of sense of proprietorial ownership that fans have over the players. We're paying you $300,000 a year, so if we tell you to shit in a can, you'll shit in the can. I find it, and as a former athlete, I don't know how you feel about it. I'm not advocating that these guys should go around snorting huge lines of coke, but I don't think they should be subjected to these invasive...
And I don't see what some bloke having a spliff in November, what that's got to do with, or whatever, has got to do with him playing footy in March.
And people just think that they should be these perfect role models that never do anything wrong or never make a mistake.
Yeah.
Like
some moral poster boy for fucking
just
model behaviour. He's a footballer.
Exactly.
It's like going, let's get all the plumbers and...
Would you like to see that drug test profile?
And we love plumbers, but
I'm just saying
you get any random collection of 18 to 30-year-olds from any demographic in Australia. Let's get 100 of them and let's test them. I reckon you'd see comparable or much worse results in terms of all that kind of stuff.
But because I feel it's interesting, because I feel that because we don't have an honest conversation in our wider community about drug use, harm minimisation, and what it does, other than saying it's bad and we need to police it, that football and sport becomes a proxy for that. So we can then have our moral panic within that world because everyone's allowed to have an opinion on it, an uninformed one. And so therefore the footballers become, the subject of that sort of moral panic. I feel for the players. If I was in charge of the AFLP, I'd say, let's just shut this thing down. Yeah. I can't trust the confidentiality that we agreed to. It really isn't designed to be a punitive system to punish players for using drugs in the off-season. That's what the cops are for, if anything. And we don't need this shit.
No, exactly.
We don't need this shit. And, if you want to negotiate about it in a collective bargaining agreement and put it on the table, then let's do that and see how you go. But it's just become ridiculous.
It's like to sit down and have a reasonable, rational, logical. That doesn't make great news, though, does it? That doesn't.
And you've got
that's
is there
not
700
salacious.
AFL players, yet there's 700 journalists for AFL as well. So there's almost one journalist per person that's out there trying to get a story, and they're the ones that create the most interest. So of course,
have you had a weird experience with a journalist? Like you must have been interviewed. Have you ever had an interview where you go, "What was that about?" Or could this person know less about netball?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Like
all the time.
Like
so I remember after winning the Com Games gold medal, I did a breakfast with Triple J. And they didn't have a clue about netball. And I was explaining to them the rules. And I'm like, they're like, so what happened?
Do you play with Lauren Hewitt?
Yeah, it was just really ridiculous.
Are you on her team?
And I thought, surely, if you're interviewing us after a Com Games gold medal, you should know what's going on.
What was that with Alex and...
I can't even remember.
They're good boys, but come on. That's my old home.
Yeah,
Lift your game, Jays. Come on. I don't know what netball is. Idiots.
But no, I haven't had any too random experiences with journos. I think... And I don't know if this is a girl thing, but we're quite savvy with them too. Like I
can read them like a book.
Yeah, we know what we want to get across. And maybe netball, we've just trained like that as well, just to be aware. We're lucky though, I think, in our sport that when you get reported on in the papers, it's all generally positive. There's not a lot of negative stories that get thrown out there about netball. So we're pretty lucky that that's the case. And I love actually when you're in New Zealand because they are so aggressive because netball is one of their biggest sports alongside rugby. So they report on it like they report on AFL in Melbourne. So if you play a bad game, it says you've played a bad game. Where
you cop it.
Yeah, in the Melbourne, in the Herald Sun, you only get mentioned if you've played a great game. So you kind of get very protected.
So the All Blacks are number one and the Silver Ferns are kind of number two, in terms of sporting teams in that is...
Yeah. Same with TV ratings on the games.
That's amazing.
Isn't it?
And I mean, it's great. Like, what a pity that's unique. But also, I mean, the other thing... I mean, this is an obvious statement, but how incredible is New Zealand as, what are they, 4 million people? 4 and a bit.
And so competitive.
I mean, they must be relatively per capita or whatever, one of the best sporting nations on earth.
Yeah.
Well, they have. I mean, the All Blacks are probably one of the greatest team sport units in any sport.
Yeah,
But they
sure.
do
The
like
culture of that
there's
organisation is unbelievable.
Isn't it? I watched
It
the
really
doco
is.
when they showed how the boys cleaning the change rooms before they leave, and that's just what they've always done as a part of their culture. And
I love that.
it was just incredible. Like I was stood there, I'm like, I wish
Sweep the sheds.
our
Rule
team was
number
like
one.
that. Like it was amazing.
Yeah, it starts there.
Mm.
No wonder we haven't been able to beat them for 400 years.
I think the Maoris have an unfair advantage because they're Maoris. I think it's not fair. It's just genetically
It's just
gifted.
genetically amazing. We've beaten them in the netball. Don't worry about that.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
good old Silver
We,
Ferns.
the Diamonds are kind of on a streak really at the moment in the last year or two over the Silver Ferns.
Killing it. Yep. They've just, I think in netball, we've kind of got everyone at the right frame or time frame in terms of their playing ability. The age of the team is just tracking along nicely, and that all the girls are ready to go. We've got people waiting in the wings to replace the girls that retire, and it just is this smooth sailing. So Netball Australia put in a heap of effort to make sure that pathway is pretty strong. New Zealand don't necessarily have that at the moment. They don't have the talent pool to pull on if one of their players is injured.
Is there a clear number 3 in the world? So obviously
England
1
have
and
closed
2
the
is
gap massively.
Yeah,
haven't
England, yep, they're really
Yeah.
good. Jamaica,
Jamaica,
in terms of athletes, are far better than any of us.
but they don't have the program.
They
and
don't
the-
have the mental
Really?
toughness.
How come?
I just don't think they've had to train to that level, or they don't have the hard games to play against all the time.
Or they just do laid back.
Yep, and they they're so threatening to play against, but once you get after half time, they kind of get really frustrated or start getting annoyed at each other or get angry with the umpires, and it's just ingrained in them.
What I'm fascinated by is African netball. My family, my wife Lynn, her family has a long history in Malawi. And the Malawi Queens are our favourite team because I've been to Malawi. It's a dirt poor rural nation in Central Africa, and netball is the game for
They're
girls.
so good too.
Yeah.
They're number 5 in the world at the moment.
Really?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
You
And
should go over there.
They only lost to Jamaica by 1, I think, at the World
Wow.
Cup recently. But they just play this style of game where it's just like girls having fun. Like back in the day when we grew up playing, they'd pass the ball around 20 times before they can get it near the goalpost, and then they just have a shot. Whereas we are ingrained to be like 3 passes, centre pass, bang, 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 you're in, take a shot, go on to the next one.
Exercise science, nutrition, periodization,
exactly.
rest, accountability,
Oh my gosh.
structure, rotations.
Blah, 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 blah.
They're
Doesn't
like,
even work.
in Malawi, they're like, want a sandwich?
Yeah. And they're so gifted. They can jump so bloody high and run a lot faster than we can, and they wouldn't even step foot in a gym.
Well, I think it's because sport plays a different function there as well in a community like that. It's an absolute luxury to be able to play sport. It's particularly in the conditions that we've become accustomed to. So I think when they do, it is about expressing yourself and enjoying the moment, because there are so few moments in life in a country like Malawi where you could do that.
Yeah.
And so therefore the idea of turning that into a structured, driven environment is probably the last thing on their minds. Although I'm sure they'd love to be successful.
Yeah, well, they've got one girl who plays in the ANZ Champs now that's come out, and I reckon they'll have a few more now in the future because they're good.
The when we look at AFL over the last, from say 30 years, from 1985, 86 until now, the prototypical footballer has changed. So we used to have footballers who were a bit athletic, and now we've got athletes who can play football, and you never see a fat AFL player now, even 5, 6. When did Stuart Chew stop? Hello, Stuart, if you're listening.
2008 was he
He
played
finished?
that big role in the
Okay,
grand
so he
final.
was
What a
probably
way
the
to sign
last
off, though.
and very talented
15
and
minutes of brilliance and won them the premiership.
amazing,
against Geelong.
and like gifted athlete and super skilled and left footer, wasn't he?
Oh,
Amazing
kicking
left
a
foot. But he was probably the last chubby player. But so these days we've got these high functioning cyborgs, pretty much, as the typical body and the typical kind of body composition and the typical kind of person that's playing netball at that elite level changed noticeably?
Yeah, I think it has. Probably it's very positional based too, but the majority of the girls, I think 2006 Com Games was the first time we were ever challenged in
Yeah,
our...
skin fold tests.
Yep, we have all of that. Yep. But we were challenged the most at the Com Games then, and that's what really pushed the Diamonds to move forward and actually become professional athletes in the way you train and the way you eat and everything that came into it.
That's why I love rugby still, because there's still a role for a really fat
For a
guy.
fatty. We
A
still
big,
have roles
strong,
for bigger
fat guy
shooters.
that can run, a front rower, weighing in at 125 Ks and just sticking their head in the hole at a scrum and just barrowing into the other blokes. It's a beautiful thing,
Well, there's a
Craig.
bloke in the UFC called Mark. You have to say this carefully. Mark Hunt.
Well done, Craig. You did
Thank
that
you.
really well.
Mark Hunt. And he's a New Zealander, fights out of Australia. He's in the heavyweight of UFC. And he's ex-elite level world champion, I think, kickboxer. But he's big. He's a very big boy.
So
And
there's
not
no weight class.
He's not prepared to call him fat in case he comes looking for him.
Yeah.
Is he fat,
Very
Craig?
big.
Mark, are you fat? Are you fat, Mark?
definitely
Mark, I'm
not,
talking
Mark.
to you.
But he fought last week. He fought last weekend or the weekend before in Bris Vegas, I think, against a guy called Frank Mir. But he's a whopper, and just he knocked this guy out.
Mark, you're not fat.
No, knocked him out.
Just a
But it's funny
great
because he walks
condition.
in. He's just this giant, but he's got phenomenal speed and power. Obviously, not heaps of endurance. But if he hits you, it's just
It's over.
see ya, just once. Like if he just connects, it's all right. But there's quite a few, obviously in American football too, there's a lot of
Oh, yeah.
boys who've got big fat guts because all they do is block and the odd tackle and just, push
Strong.
people.
Then they can get off the field, don't they? They don't have to
When you
do-
started at the Phoenix, so Melbourne Phoenix, was that what, 2000 and...
1999.
Wow. So
Prince.
you,
Party like.
how tall are you? 6'2"?
Yeah.
So you're 6'2", and I remember when I started working with your team, which was
Yeah.
about then, how huge you were. And then, but by the time you
shrunk.
finished, I'm like, yeah, you're not that big at all. Because everyone, what's Romelda Aiken, 6'7"?
Yep, she's 6'7".
Wow. That is tall.
Yep, but there's a bigger girl now who is 200. So Romelda is 197, and there's a girl now who's 207.
Did she just stand there and
200
did she just stand there and drop the ball
207.
in?
Yes.
Like it's
That's
just
6'11".
Like
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Is she, without being rude, does she have any... we're Googling it.
No, I'm
Has
just
she
going to
got
show
any-
you a picture just for evidence.
Has she got any coordination or skill?
Well,
she wouldn't
she's
have
come
to.
across from basketball, so she does have skill.
Right.
But as a defender, how you kind of getting around her is her hands are still
This is
not
an
that
Australian girl?
strong. No, she's a Kiwi,
Right.
and she's now playing for the Mystics over there. The
Is she a
Mystics.
Maori?
I'm just going to Google because
6'11"
if anyone
netballer
knows
Francis. That's terrifying.
Kath
Maybe
Latu,
Doris,
so
yes,
Kath
Kath's
Latu
in
is taller than me and
Yeah.
bigger than me.
Yeah.
She was a really strong goal shooter for
I remember
the
Kath. Now, speaking of she was respectfully a very big girl.
yes.
She was...
So look at her in comparison.
Oh my God.
So I know.
Now I know this
Now we
is
don't
not
have
ready.
any.
Can you get that, Melissa? Can you do anything with that?
Zoom in. So Kat Latu is the little one. Kat Latu is about 192 centimeters.
So 6'3", 4.
Yep. And then, what's her name? I'm not sure. I should probably look it up. I don't
So
have to worry
she's,
now because I'm not
she's
playing
a-
against her.
Well, in exercise science, we call her a whopper.
Yeah,
That's
she
what
is a whopper.
Marissa Socks, is that?
Marissa Socks.
Marissa.
Come across from the Tall Ferns, which is
Wow.
the New Zealand basketball team,
Mm.
and playing for the Mystics in goal shooting. Now, in netball, if you're goal shooter, you don't have to move that far. Like, you don't actually have to be that super
All you got to
fit.
do, how on earth do you guard that chick? You cannot.
You rely on the
she's
defenders
six-
in front of you
she's
getting
6'11"
intercepts.
and got her arms up.
Yeah. I can't get anywhere near it.
She's like,
That's why
that's...
you retire.
What's the ring? Is the ring 10 foot in netty?
10 foot.
Same as basketball.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So she's not far off it. So there you go. They're getting bigger now.
Wow, that is...
Not much you can do
that
about
It
is,
is funny when you see what you would call a physical outlier, someone who's enormous that has incredible skill. So Aaron Sandilands, who plays AFL
yeah.
football
for the Fremantle Dockers.
7'1", 2?
Yeah, he's a big man. But he's not there simply because he's tall, though it's an enormous advantage. He can actually play.
Yeah.
It's
Even
an
at ground level, he's
amazing
got
thing
some
to
skills.
watch.
Yeah.
He just looks so at odds with everything a field sport like AFL football would demand, but somehow
Yeah.
he manages to to command the field. He's an incredible.
got,
kid.
He's a sporting anomaly.
He's an amazing human being.
He is amazing.
Oh no, I was just going to say so I reckon if you're tall, you got to make the most of your height. So playing sport is the best way to do that because there's always going to be a sport that suits you with your height. I've got 2 cousins who I caught up with over Easter, and they're 6'10" and 6'11". Neither of them play sport.
What a waste.
I know, that's what I say.
How
to
are they
them
not
every
telling
single
ideas?
What do you do?
time.
I'm a computer programmer.
They've
Really?
just got no real interest. They're a little uncoordinated.
How old are they?
They'd be 25, 26, 28.
Wow.
Is height and
What a waste.
Is height a social disadvantage for someone like that? So if you're
Yes,
really tall,
I think so.
I reckon
do you
to
feel-
a point. But that's interesting because, sorry to interrupt, but there's like research. I'll find it, not today, but there's a if you're, I think it's 6 to 6'4" or 5 as a man, like you get a whole lot of added value. Like you're much more likely to be a CEO, much more likely to get.
Yeah, I've heard
so
that.
everything else being equal, 5'7" guy, 6'3" guy, everything else being equal, not a chance the short guy.
Yeah, I
6'3"
have definitely.
guy.
I've had
Leadership,
people say
all
that
that
to
stuff.
me. They're like, it's such an advantage being tall. You walk into a boardroom and instantly you've got everyone's attention because you're tall.
Yeah,
Like,
except when you're out socialising and you got shoes on and you're 6'4",
Yeah.
and every bloke's going,
Go,
"Fuck,
what? Intimidated.
oh, really?" So if you're wearing shoes and you're 6'4", and you want a guy who's your height at least, well, that cuts out 99% of the population. So
All
good
you
luck
short
there.
asses out there.
it's not about how tall we are.
Oh, right. Okay.
We're tall on the inside.
Oh, God. Here we go.
hey. Well, you never know. It is, well, it's something of a limitation. How often do you get somebody who doesn't know who you are, like, just comment on your height?
Oh, all the time.
Really? People would say something.
Yes. I could be standing in a supermarket and people like, you're massive.
Well,
I'm like,
thanks for that.
Do they use that word?
Yeah, massive or huge or...
Hey, let me make you feel really self-conscious.
It's my friends and my...
Do you go, "You're inappropriate"?
I feel like going, look how fat you are. And then I think
You did that, yeah.
I always say that. I'm like, you're never allowed to say that back.
Well, wouldn't it be great if you said, I did this.
For
When you say
sure,
things
for
that
sure.
you think about saying, and this is totally different, but in the same way.
Yeah.
So where I live, in what I call the Bagel Belt, I'm a relapsed Catholic, grew up like you, but I live in Eastern Kilda in Melbourne, which is very Hebrew enabled. Love it. I have all the advantages of living in that part of the world and feel very much sort of incorporated into local Jewish culture, because I know lots of people. But on a Friday...
That was the disclaimer. Spoken authorised by Francis Leach.
On a Friday afternoon, sometimes the lovely local Hebrew chaps like to go out and proselytise, but they're only interested really in making contact with secular Jews. And so, like, if you're walking down the street and these boys will come up to you and, they want you to come back to the fold and start practicing being an observant Jew. And all the time I get stopped, so I must look like I'm part of the tribe, even though I'm not. And they stop me and say, "Oh, excuse me, sir, are you Jewish?" And I have to go, "Oh, no, sorry, I'm not." And then they go, "Oh, thank you, have a nice day." And then they wander on because they're not interested. The Jewish religion not interested in actually converting non-Jews.
Wow.
It's not the way it works. It's a tribe.
I should have a talk to the evangelical Christians.
Yeah,
they could give him lots of tips.
They could. But the other day, I always wanted to do this, and I did do this. So
Did you say yes?
No, what I said was these young boys, lovely young men, stopped me and said, "Excuse me, sir, are you Jewish?" I said, "No, but can I be?" And he went, he had not heard that before.
He goes,
He didn't have an answer.
"Hang on, I'll just talk to my manager."
Yeah,
Brian.
He did not. He was genuinely flummoxed because it hadn't occurred to him that anyone might. Well, how do I become one? And he went, and I said, "It's okay. I'm only joking." And we said, "Have a nice day." And he burst out laughing. But I thought I've always wanted to do that, and I did.
Good work.
And I just completely.
So are you telling me I should tell somebody how
wrong-footed
fat
him.
they are?
If
Is
someone
that
does
probably
that
the
to
tool I
you,
have?
I think you should make them self-conscious about how rude it is to comment on your physical appearance.
It really annoys my
Yeah,
friends because
absolutely.
I just deal with it every day. I'm used to it. Don't even think about it anymore. But they get so defensive
Defensive?
for me, and I'm like, it's all right. Don't worry about
It's
it.
not all right.
Oh, but what do you do? I can't waste energy worrying
But
about
that's
it.
true.
I am
mean,
tall. Bring it
it's
on.
not going to stop.
No, it's not
gonna
gonna, and that's why I wear heels and
How
stuff
many
too because
Captain-
I don't care.
How many Captain Obviouses in the world are there? Oh,
Yeah, I
you're tall.
know.
Well, thank you.
My
I couldn't
God,
have.
you're so tall.
Really?
But I guarantee that
Thanks.
none of them intend to or think.
No,
they're
they
being-
think it's a really positive thing.
They
That's
think
why
it's like-
it's a great thing that you're tall. Like I don't think they say it because I'm a freak or they make you feel like that. But yeah.
That's the important bit. It's how it makes you feel.
Yeah, that's right. Whereas I'm kind of cool with it. But
What about when someone comes up to you with a clipboard and says, do you mind if I ask you a few questions? And I go, yeah, I mind.
do you?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I go, no. Can I ask you? I go, no. Oh, do you mind if I ask you why? I go, no.
So at least you're honest. I'm like, oh,
Or,
sorry.
or
I'm just
can
too
I ask
busy.
you why? No. And they're like, oh, can I ask you a few questions? No. Can I ask you why? No. See ya. It's like
That's two more questions that I really wanted to answer.
They're still trying to compute what the hell just went on because everyone's usually like, oh, no, sorry, I don't have any time.
That's 'cause people aren't
or they
assertive.
rather than just going, I'm not trying to be rude, but
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And I don't
Yeah,
know
yeah.
you, and I don't,
It's an interesting one, that one too, because the charity muggers, or the chuggers as they're called, do it all the time. So there's,
hang on, charity muggers, chuggers.
Chuggers.
do you know the
Nice.
charity
Never
muggers?
heard that.
Well, I put it together then, but I've never heard that. That's a great term.
Yeah. So
I got accosted by them on Good Friday. Sorry,
Yes.
27 intersections in a row. I'm like,
Did you donate to one?
I donated to about 3.
Good. Okay.
They
That's
should
okay.
give you a little badge.
But after a while, I like, mate, I go, yeah. So then I feel bad going,
You shouldn't.
do I go like
Don't
this,
look.
or do I just
Don't
look
look.
at I'm just changing the radio, doing
And they
something.
knock on your window.
They do, but so your favourite NGOs, and I have involvement with some of them, like Medicine Sans Frontier and others, will have people, usually backpackers in public
Yep.
spaces,
Yep.
accosting you on the street to try to get you to donate more or to join. And I think you're entitled to say, you know what, I've chosen, and I do. I say, look, I've already chosen. I have a charity of choice that I'm heavily involved with. I'm already contributing somewhere, so thank you. But I'm sure some people just get so intimidated at the prospect of asserting themselves that they do get sort of.
I don't like the ones that are a bit passive aggressive, where they're all like, and then you go, no, and they're like, they give you the death stare.
Or make you feel guilty. Some kid will go starving if you don't do that.
At least they're not.
Oh, thanks.
At least they're not Scientologists who are dragging you in to be fresh meat
I
to
have a
take
story.
the test.
I have a story about, what do you call them? Chuggers.
Chuggers.
So 115 years ago, when I was
20.
20, I'd just come back from Western Australia, and I was working in a gym morning and night, and my parents owned a hardware store when I was a kid, so I grew up working in hardware store, and I got an afternoon shift working between like 11 and 3 or something at McEwen's. Do you know this story?
McEwen's. How old
Do
you
you
are.
remember McEwen's?
Of course I do.
Anyway, so and I went through quite a few spiritual phases, which we'll touch on in one episode. But some guy came in and he was the money thing, and he's like, Holy Spirit Ministries. I'm like, I don't know about Holy Spirit Ministries. And I go, so you're a Christian? And he goes, yeah. I go, great. Where do you go to church? And he goes, what? I go, where do you go to church? And he's like, and he said not some church, but some suburb. I go, tell me one scripture from the Bible and I'll give you some money. I go, any scripture. Any scripture. There's 66 books and tens of thousands of scriptures. Give me one. And I go, yeah. And he just looked at me. I go, you're full of shit. You're a scammer. And I grabbed him. I grabbed his shoulder, and he's just done this, and he's just bolted through Southland.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, just a scammer.
What was he trying to scam?
Oh, he's just getting money. He was just going
Oh,
around.
he was going around with
he
you
had
get
on the
that-
thing,
Yeah.
Holy Spirit Ministries, and a can for,
That
I
is
don't know,
so
the homeless
bad,
or
isn't
something.
it? That
Yeah,
is
I'm like-
really bad.
I go, no.
Have you ever had
Yeah.
the scammers on the phone call you from the ATO?
Oh, the guy from Nigeria calls me all the time. No, I'm only joking.
Oh.
So the ATO.
Yeah, I've got it 3 times, and I always feel sorry for like old people that must get the call and feel like they have to give money. So they knew my name, and they kind of knew how much BAS I would probably be paying every month or
That's
every
scary.
quarter.
How do they know that?
And I don't know. And they rang up and they said, we're from the ATO. Unless you engage a lawyer, unless you pay this amount of money now, you'll have to engage a lawyer to fight this charge, blah, 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 blah. And I just listened, and after about, 20 seconds, I thought this can't be right. Because 1, you wouldn't call yourself the ATO, and 2, I've got an accountant who I'm sure would have called me if any of this was happening. Anyway, then they go on and on and on. I ended up just hanging up on them. And I was said to them, do you want my credit card details so I can pay for this? And they were like, yes, just please give us your credit card. And straight away I was like, okay, cool. I'm not giving it to you. But then they rang me again a week later, same kind of story, same amount. And I looked up on the website and apparently it happens all the time. But imagine elderly people who are getting this call going, oh no, getting really worried, I better pay this, and then give them their credit card details.
God, there's some shit people in the world.
Isn't that terrible? I don't know what you do about it though. And they're ringing from a landline in Melbourne.
Ooh.
So it actually comes up like it's just a normal office number.
Really?
Yeah, which apparently wherever they're ringing from, wherever in the world, they can kind of
Somalia.
get into the...
Liberia.
That Nigerian prince, he's just branching
racking
out.
up some more cash.
Oh, boy. But
So
I
don't answer those calls.
Don't.
Or
Really?
don't give the credit card number
So
out.
you only paid it once, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you learned your lesson,
And then
didn't
they
you?
kept stealing money.
It was the toll tax. She didn't pay the toll
see?
tax.
That's what
Tax
they
for
were getting
being
me on.
tall.
Wow, there we go.
There we are.
What else?
Oh, that's about it, I think.
You think that's about it?
That's about it.
All right, we don't want to dazzle.
I'm going to
people
go.
too much.
I'm going to go home and eat a giant big Hague's chocolate Easter egg. No,
Really?
I'm not. I promise I won't.
Yes.
I'm rationing it, Craig. I told you,
Yeah, but you might as well just eat it. Like, if you're going to ration it, it's going to go in your body at some stage.
bit by bit.
So you just
wonder
eat it
how-
now.
I wonder
Is that
how-
right?
Yeah.
Eating one whole egg compared to eating a whole egg over 4 days doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Same calories.
Doesn't matter. Same calories.
There you go. Smash it. Smash it tonight, Frankie.
Have a crack. Have a
Don't
crack.
worry about it.
What are you telling
People
me?
say stuff like, "Oh no, you need some junk because it gives your metabolism a kick." What?
What is that?
What? That's you telling yourself a story to rationalise your shit choices. If you're going to eat it, just eat it and be happy with
Just
it.
eat it. That's
Just
right.
be yourself.
Don't try to bring science into your stupidity.
The science of stupidity. That there in itself will be a PhD.
Now that could be a name for a podcast.
Yes.
Speaking of the podcast, I think we're done, mate.
Well, it's been enlightening again. We've learnt that Craig worked at McEwen's, ancient retailer.
I've
Ate a lot
never
of
even
rum
heard
and
of
raisin
McEwen's.
And Allen's and Brushes.
and beat up on chuggers. It's been
And Bianca's got a very, very small pool to select from when it comes to
I
men.
know. Do you know what? The end of all of our podcasts have ended up me talking, or you talking about men for me. Do you know
Well-
that? Is that a common theme?
Well, I've known you for a decade, and I'm a little worried.
Right.
Says the man who couldn't pull a root in a nursery.
And notice I never bring that up. I let you go.
You're very kind to
Because
him.
you know I've
Yeah,
got
I
no
know.
self-esteem.
I know. I'm just protecting you.
All right,
Anyway.
kids. It's been great.
The end.
In fact, we did have something today, and we'll leave it for you to try to work out what that is.
See you next time.
See. ya.
Bye.